Nthabiseng Dubazana is a legal analyst. Nthabiseng, Nandipha Magudumana claims that she succumbed to pressure to leave with Thabo Bester due to threats directed at her. Is this a kidnapping, essentially? Is that how the court will read this? If so, will it assist in her bid to get bail?
Seems that's what she's claiming in her bail affidavit, that indeed she was kidnapped and made to leave the country. And the fortunate part, I guess, in terms of bail applications, is not on a balance of probability, so she doesn't have to prove anything. It's not, I beg your pardon, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's on a balance of probabilities. So in this situation, the court just has to look whether or not there's indeed a prima facie case against her, and that she needs to answer to, and also over and above that, whether her release or no release rather on bail will be in the interest of justice, looking at the information that she's going to provide, and also the information that the state is going to deal with when they rebut or oppose this affidavit. It is also very interesting to note that even in her application in the High Court, this was not canvassed, because I believe it would have changed the manner in which that matter was dealt with and the decision that was given by the court in that urgent application, because it would have been a basis that she did not leave this country voluntarily. Instead, she was saying that her extradition to be brought back to the country was dealt with unlawfully.
Mm-hmm. In fact, let's take a look, listen at what was said about the extradition.
9.3, I remained in custody in Tanzania, where I enlisted the services of one advocate, Sambo, to provide legal service. 9.4, I was, however, taken to South Africa through methods which are currently being legally challenged. 9.5, I have been in custody at Biza Makate Correctional Facility since 13 April 2023 to date. 9.6, as indicated, I have challenged the legalities of my apprehension and arrest in Tanzania by officials of South African Police Services and the Department of Home Affairs, as well as my subsequent unlawful return to the Republic of South Africa. 9.7, albeit the application was unsuccessful, I have launched an application for leave to appeal at the Supreme Court of Appeal.
During the affidavit in Nthabiseng that was read out, Nandipha Magudumana said that she was advised not to reveal the basis of her defense until at an appropriate time and forum. What does that mean?
It is her right now to remain silent. So until she has received the full contents of the docket and the charges officially put to her, and she's now pleading, at that stage she can then make, for example, 220 admissions in terms of what she's willing to admit, in terms of what is leveled against her by virtue of the content of the docket that would have been provided to her through her attorney. So at this stage, it's really nothing more than her exercising her right to remain silent, because at this stage, her defense is not necessary in order to determine whether or not she should be released out on bail, although it's always advisable to at least take the court into your confidence just a little bit, to give them an idea as to why you think your release will be successful based on a little bit of information from the defense. But really, there's nothing more to that than just remaining silent.
Okay. At a particular point at the start of the reading of that affidavit, her ID number was exposed. Her address was exposed. A friend who's going to be acting as surety, should she receive bail, her ID number was exposed. Her address was also exposed. Given that we've got POPIA in this country, how should we understand that? Or is it just unfortunate because it's live on camera?
That's exactly it. It's unfortunate that it's live on camera, but because it's an affidavit, remember, an affidavit is made in your personal capacity, so it is read out as an it's not read out as a third party reading it out. So you knew that when you deposed that affidavit and signed it, that you're relinquishing certain information about yourself, which will be made public information, especially in this kind of case, and therefore even the confirmatory affidavit has the same information, and it is something that the parties would have been made aware of, and they should know that what it may or may not lead to as a result. So it's just unfortunate that it was recorded.
Nandipha Magudumana, in arguing for bail, says she has no history of violent behavior, no intention to live the life of a fugitive. She says there was no public disorder as a result of others being released on bail. She can only afford bail of 10,000 rand. When all is said and done, what are her prospects of success?
I think the fact that they brought in to the affidavit, the application that was made in the High Court, into this fray is actually going to work against them. Remember, in that application, there is no mention of the fact that she left the country under duress. But in that particular application, she is saying that her being brought back to the country was done illegally. That gives the impression that she had no intention of coming back. You know, even though in that particular application she goes further to say, which contradicted her main application, that, you know, she wanted to come home to her kids, and therefore that's why the judge made the decision that he did, said that you voluntarily handed yourself over. Therefore, no particular extradition law was being followed in that situation. Unfortunately for her, at every stage she seemed to be contradicting herself in terms of how she got herself in this situation. But over and above that, there's the flight risk situation. As mentioned, there's about 2 passports, I believe, that have been dealt with, even though she's alleging today that she only has the one. So I don't think that the prospects of success are high in this particular case, based on the manner in which her different cases are being dealt with and the information coming out of them thereof.
Does it matter that this is a Schedule 5 case? She's being charged with aiding and escape, concealing and harboring a fugitive, 2 counts of violating a body, and 2 counts of fraud.
A Schedule 5 offense is a very serious offense. Unlike a Schedule 1, there's no need for an affidavit to be done. It is done formally in a court, but really it's not as intense as what you're seeing now. So here, you are showing the court that it's within the interest of justice that you are released out on bail. Had it been a Schedule 6, which is a higher and more stringent bail application, you would have to not only prove the interest of justice, you would have to prove exceptional circumstances as well for your release out on bail. So because it's a Schedule 5, that's why it had to be put down on an affidavit. Sometimes accused persons actually give viva voce evidence, like testify, for such an application. But Schedule 1 offenses, usually there's nothing really that needs to be done. As long as your SAP 69s are there confirming you don't have a previous conviction, it is always easy for you to get bail. So we will see how this one turns out.
Nthabiseng Dubazana, is always a great pleasure. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.